Yo, 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 everybody. Welcome to G.I. Joeberg, a podcast that has its origins in South Africa but has gone multinational. My name is Steve. I'm sitting in Brisbane. It's just gone 6 a.m. and I will be your host on this adventure entitled Shakedown the Heavens. Yes, we're talking the legendary issue 34, Shakedown from Marvel Comics. We're also talking about an episode of the Sunbow era called Haul Down the Heavens, written by Chuck Dixon. It's a classic, maybe not as classic as issue 34, but it's pretty damn good. We've also got another comic book in the mix and lots of art. So to help me on this quest, I've got my good buddy Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hello. Hey, everybody. It's super hot here. I'm waiting for my brain to stop melting so that I can think properly.
And our awesome US correspondent returning to the show after a long hiatus. It's the one, the only, the enigma, the man, the myth, the legend, Cujo.
I hath returned.
Hide your children. Jeez, dude.
Johnny Cage style.
For those of you listening along, Cujo's got the most outrageous specs on. Nice. Mirror shades, bringing it back, huh?
Got to do it. Ever since I moved to the mountains, I'm Mr. Shades guy all the time. It is what it is, guys. I apologize. But not tonight.
Dude, don't.
Nice.
Those are coming back. Yeah, like I saw them in.
They never left.
Come
on.
Well, they didn't really leave, and that there was always like one or two guys that were reliving their childhood wearing them. Well, with tight shirts and whatever's. But now, like a lot of kids are wearing them, and I'm like, oh, if you only knew.
Well, I no longer have the title as the crazy or the nicest hair on the team. Thanks for stealing that, Paul. Looking good.
Oh, shut, dude. No, man, your locks are still great, bro. Don't be like that. Don't diss your locks.
No, it's good to be back with you, gentlemen, and of course, everybody that can hear me. It's always an honor and a pleasure. Enough pleasantries.
One more pleasantry. We'd like to just say hello to everybody in the live chat at the moment.
Yeah.
Spoon Killer, Christoph, Brick Fiction, Mark van Leeuwen, and Darren Cobb. Bob Squad's there. Great. And we've got 14 people with eyes on us at the moment. That number will just grow. So thank you for joining us live. And thank you for listening to us on the repeat if you are doing so on YouTube or your podcatcher of choice. And with that out of the way, gents, the agenda, I think we should crack open some Joevember art. What say you, Cuj?
Yeah.
Right, you are. Well, every year I turn up. There's a hashtag called Joevember. Of course, you guys are going to remember who started that back in the day, if that's important. But essentially, indies turn up with Joe art. I think I sent you a couple of those for folks who have been going hard this month. So we should probably appreciate those.
Cool.
So first up, we've got Maddie Comics, at Maddie Comics. Cujo, tell us all about it.
Well, I do my cherry picking from Twitter, so I'll pull some favorites of the people in the crowd, etc. I know Steven's a good Hydro Viper fan. I just like how people reach, and it doesn't have to be special. But if the art's clean, if the lines are clean, you know where you're taking your lines. I like it. So we're gonna give some love to Maddie Comics on Twitter. Cheers, man.
Maddie Comics with a very cool Hydro Viper. I like the fact that he's got the BCD, or the sort of the I don't know, he's the waistcoat, for lack of a better term, of the Hydro Viper picked out in black, which makes a break from it being all purple like on the action figure and puts it in line with the card art. Very cool.
True. Of course, I had to break out Airtight because of our man Gary. What's up, Gary? He's a fan, but yeah, mostly I wanted to pull this. I like the eyes, and that'll be a continuing theme. Cheers, guys.
And it's specifically Tiger Force Airtight, which, I mean, if I knew my international Joes better, I'd know the actual local name for, but I don't. I do know that Tiger Force Shipwreck is Marujo, but the only reason I know that is because Paul's got him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, not actual Marujo. That would be amazing. But I've got the cool modern era version,
Correct.
which is thanks to Steve.
We switched up
Ooh.
artists now. Who's this guy, Cujo?
We're getting tasty. Let me see if I can go back and find that real quick. Steven, you got his name for me?
I could tell you, break the suspense. We've
My
got
God. I'm gonna
at
say.
Vanguard Comic.
Mm-hmm. I should know these handles a bit better. But what I like about this is he's kind of taken each character and given it their own font style. I think that's an
Mm.
interesting twist. That's more kind of like Masters of the Universe vibe a little bit. But he did. He got some good character out of these guys. This is good vial card art. If anybody's listening.
And it is Zartan clutching
Mm-hmm.
at a mask that he's just peeled off his face. I like the fact that this seems to be either motion lines or is that adhesive kind of
Looks like
clinging
an
from his,
adhesive. It's kind of
it's dropping some goop off it, which, yeah, I suppose would be realistic. I don't know what he
Interesting.
used to stick the mask to his face, but he's got the most maniacal grin and even a little bit of facial fuzz. That's a unique look for Zartan. He doesn't often have a goatee
Mm-hmm.
of his own. Next up, also from at Vanguard, we've got Alpine.
Oh, I'm gonna draw your attention to that font, guys. Look at how tasty that is.
no, that is very tasty.
That's a good one. He's a good storyteller with his artwork. Each character is reacting. I like it.
Yeah. Also, some of that file card vibe. It always felt like the characters weren't just blank slate artist renderings. They all had a kind of a context that they were operating within. Now, Alpine was a cool
Yeah.
one because didn't he actually have a bit of mountain that he was scrambling up on the card art?
Indeed. Mm-hmm.
Well, here he's kind of scoping out the mountain in the distance and readying his rope and his pick. Very
True.
cool. Oh, love this.
Oh,
Word burglar. Cool.
I don't
Well,
think
the
uh,
artist's name
anybody in the
is
tweets. Tim Shin is no stranger to Joe Art,
Yeah.
but he does turn up on the regular. So I'll throw this out there just like I always do, guys. We got friends all over the world. Get them a $10 piece of digital art. So draw your friend as a Joe figure. They're not going to be mad at that. It helps out community, but of course we got Word Burglar who just dropped that new single. I forget what it's called, 1980 or something.
1984.
Oh damn! Sorry, Word. Sorry, Berg.
You on the way there?
Yeah, but no,
Well,
that's
it's Rap Viper, his sort of Rap Viper persona and
Yeah.
like outfit,
mhm.
being sort of positioned front and center, and behind him were the members of Cold Slither. So this is an awesome smash up of like real and made up and all of the sort of genres that G.I. Joe had. Sweet.
Moving right along.
Yes, sir. Another Tim Shin.
Of course.
That's at
of course.
TimShin73 if you want to look him up on the Twitter.
Hey, if you got the eyes, you got me. And if you're gonna do eels, lest we forget, everybody loves eels. So there's a crowd pleaser. Good stuff, Tim. Cheers, man.
A nice close crop of an eel underwater with his knife drawn, looking off to something and conjuring up some dangerous activities.
True.
Okay, I think this is our second to last
It is.
contributor.
I want to get this name right for several reasons, but mostly because he's going to end up in one of my comics one day. I commissioned some art from him back in the day, Spilt Ink. He has some tasty interpretations, all black and white, at Hal Phoenix. So if you're out there, brother, I salute you. I see that cross hatching. I see your line work. And of course, I'm going to allude to Shakedown.
It's Wild Weasel giving his final salute, presumably at Ace, if this is indeed intended to be that panel from Shakedown. Yeah, man, we're going to get into that not too long from now. What else has this guy got? Oh, wow. It's
You know what?
Rosie the Riveter, except it's
Nice,
not.
Steven. Nice,
Yeah.
brother.
I know
That's
some
a
things,
pull
I know
from the
some things.
Southern Hemisphere right there. I see you. No, yeah, he masked some of that art. Yeah, I'm into it. Give me something. That's where we're at. Good job. Good stuff.
So in the place of Rosie the Riveter, he's got Vipera.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who, I mean, I know it's just a straight up reuse of the Jinx body, but like nothing about that mold screams Gearhead to me.
Nope.
Mm.
Nope.
So you've got to really work against your outfit to try and convince me that Viper is indeed, at home in the motor pool.
He
Let's
added
move on
the
to
wrench.
your last pick. Well, yes, he
Hey.
did. That did it. Nice. Codename Mole Rat. Who's this
That's
by,
Cujo.
Cujo?
Did you guys all know Classified has dropped some original characters at this point?
Mhm.
Mole Rat's inspired to me. He has some glow in the dark features coming off his eyes and stuff. I just kind of have this shot in my head. I think somebody did it with toys. Somebody had a toy rat with him. And I looked on the box and he doesn't come with a rat, which is a shame. But yeah, he does here. Giving some love to some ugliness.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you regard these guys as sentient, or are they some kind of mindless cannon fodder?
I think you have to with Mole Rat, just because his unique eye pus and all that good stuff. If you got a
So what
bunch of
he-
those guys, then the Cobra Docs aren't handling their business. So
Right. So
probably
he's
original.
unique in your
I think
book.
so. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And does that conclude our sampling of Joevember picks?
It
Cooge?
does, but I mean, the month isn't over. If you're out there, you're an artist. Yeah, turn up, man. I'll put you in front of a few thousand folks.
Outstanding. Right, gents, we have a decision to make. Are we talking cartoons or comic books?
I think let's go. I want to go comic books first. That's okay. I know, unusual. It's a twist.
I think the meatiest discussion will probably be about issue 34. So let's be crowd pleasers and get stuck into it. Unless anyone else has anything they'd like to put in front of the agenda.
Maybe I'm just going to throw a bit of a spanner in the works here. For 34, you do want to mix 34 and 280, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Now, I just want to just make sure. Just wanted to just.
If
Yeah.
you are following along with G.I. Joeberg's strange approach to rereading the series, you're going to notice that 34 is coming out of left field. Like, we are not there in our reread. We're at issue 11, actually. But we couldn't miss the opportunity to read the issue that immediately is then followed onto in the modern era. Because I think in 2021, when they were doing the Untold Tales, Larry made the decision to kickstart 280, issue 280, at the end point of issue 34. So where 34 ends and the two planes part company, both pretty stricken, 280 picks up immediately thereafter with Baroness and Wild Weasel. So, wow, talk about getting around to it eventually. I mean, these stories are essentially 35 years apart, and they have direct continuity with each other. So let's see how they stitch together, how well or how poorly they do that job.
And how
yeah.
necessary it is.
Oh dear, Paul's going to be brutal as always. Look forward to that.
Sorry.
So,
Yeah, let's
does
rock and
anyone
roll.
want to take a crack? Cooge, you're familiar with 34. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what happens in this issue? Your take.
Well, 34, I guess I remember it from the outset as just being an issue where the writer respects both the quote unquote good guys and bad guys at the same time, and I think that makes GI Joe a complex series in a lot of ways. So that's right off the front. That's what I'm going to say. It's an issue that features both people doing what they're good at and respecting both at the same time.
Outstanding. Yeah, we got this parallel story between the Joes, Ace, and Lady J taking off in the Sky Striker from McGuire Air Force Base, and Wild Weasel and the Baroness taking off from a Rattler from the Springfield Municipal Airport. They meet each other in the skies somewhere over the United States. A epic dogfight ensues with lots of technical details being dropped. I mean, this was like an instructional manual for us as kids. It's sort of the basics, I suppose, of dogfighting. and all the kind of modern equipment that aircraft are carrying, warfare aircraft. It ends with a stalemate after going through multiple waves of maneuvering and firing weapons and epic acrobatics. And of course, the women lay into the men about letting the other guy get away. And we'll get into that sort of last moment. But there seems to be a mutual respect between the two pilots. They're both taking their best shots, and neither has managed to score a definitive victory. So off they go. Right, Paul, your first blush with this episode, this issue?
Ooh, yeah. So this issue is very much like a one-part Weird Gundam tribute. And hear me out, yeah, because I'm not saying Larry Hama is a fan of Gundam, or anything like that, but there's a lot of stuff in here that is in Gundam as well. So you got two like characters that are like very highly skilled. They attack each other. There's no real good guy or bad guy, if you know what I mean. It just becomes like two, highly skilled guys in the sky or in the battlefield doing their thing, trying their best not to create any more collateral damage. And then, there's a narrative that's going on through the action. And then it ends off with, they salute each other. There's no more having to kill each other kind of thing. There's no, oh, I hate you or whatever. And that's very Gundam-esque. Also, Wild Weasel being red. I know that was done as a nod to the Red Baron, but also in Gundam terms, it's also Shaw is also red as a nod to the Red Baron. So there's like these kind of, there's a bit of a simulacra going on there. Other than that, I mean, I'm just, being cheeky there, but I do feel like this is one of the best sort of narratives in comic books. I know there's been tons, but this is one of the best like action narratives in comic books. Like it's, I don't know how to put it across better than that. Like, from the man who brought you issue 21, which is amazing because it's got no speech bubbles. I think this book would have been amazing had it not had any speech bubbles either. And it's amazing with speech bubbles. It's such a great, narrative piece.
As I say, the technical details are something that's like, I know I as a child would have clung to, because
totally,
it was the 80s, or in our case, the 90s. Information wasn't as readily available at our fingertips. If we wanted to know how fighter planes operated, there wasn't a YouTube video or a couple thousand on the internet that we could watch. And encyclopedias were fuddy-duddy and in many cases out of date. The information they had was very finite, extremely limited. So unless you had sort of specialized books that you managed to take out of the library, you were strapped. So Larry presents a lot of information here, some which wouldn't have permeated our child brains, some that would, some we'd have some kind of grasp of. Either way, these are the kind of things that on the playground I would have been insisting everyone adhered to.
Of course you would.
Mr. Buzzkill, you can't see me because you haven't switched on your radar, and I haven't switched on my radar yet. So we're still flying around the skies, searching for each other visually.
Why would you be flying without your radar on, though?
Well, he explains it in this issue. It's like two gunfighters in a darkened room armed with pistols and flashlights. As long as you don't switch on your flashlight, you're safe. So yeah, if you have an active radar, you're also able to be tracked. That's kind of the philosophy here. Of course, they set up the distinction between heat seekers and radar-guided missiles, and that heat seekers can be thrown off by flares,
barbecue,
because a hot heat source, and that radar-guided missiles are thrown off by rapid blooming chaff, or in the case of Wild Weasel, can be thrown off by shooting the ground and having a lot of debris get thrown up in the way of the missiles, which seems like a pretty ballsy move. Like, okay, we're going to avoid a missile by basically blowing up the ground in front of us and like flying through the debris field. Okay. You know how a jet turbine works, right?
Turkey. What is it? Bird strike. I mean, yeah. I wonder what a bird strike is for when you're taking debris through the turbine. What's the
Scrap
term for
metal
that would be?
strike.
Probably, yeah.
Rod
Ground
Wiggum
strike.
on Art Chores here. This must have been one of his first for Joe. Uh, I mean, we haven't gotten to it in our reread just yet, but he's just knocking it out of the park. The amount of technical detail that he's doing and just rendering the planes panel to panel. Though I will say he's a little bit more successful with the Rattler. And I like the kind of the oversized nature of the Rattler, pushes it more towards the A10 in terms of its dimensions. I mean, you can see it in the, sort of the initial panels where they're walking to it and climbing inside. That, you know, it's definitely bigger than the toy dimensions. But I say he's more successful with the Rattler because sometimes, now aviation nuts are going to hopefully back me up on this, sometimes the Sky Striker, instead of looking like an F-14 Tomcat, looks more like an F-15 Eagle.
Yep, I was
And
going
it's
to
got
say.
a lot to do with the spacing of the engines. Sometimes they're really tight together, like that panel. I mean, yeah, this is a hopeless nitpick. Like, he does it exceptionally well for the most part. But yeah, there's a certain geometry to the F-14 that sets it apart. It's the spacing of those engines, and also when you see a sort of a front-on shot, and he does this a couple of times. The F-14 has this kind of dip as the lines move towards the nose cone, whereas
does
the
do that.
F-15 is a much squarer profile.
What is cool though, on all of these shots though, is how well designed they are. So, for example, just this page is beautiful. Like everything that's happening with regards to the action, like technical things aside, and I must be honest, like I know what the two jets look like. I'm quite, intimately familiar with both of their designs, at least visually. But it never once like bugged me that it looked a bit F-15-ish. I was just like, oh my word, that Sky Striker cutting through at a diagonal is just amazing. Oh my word, it
Just
coming
like
at us
trying
in
to
those
get
clouds. Yeah.
just trying to get like details on jet fighters in the
Oh,
80s.
totally.
I'm sure getting reference pictures wasn't the easiest thing for Mr. Wiggum. I mean, perhaps Larry sent him a bunch of stuff, but you don't get the plane from every single angle. And unless he had a Sky Striker toy to hand, which maybe might have been very difficult at the point in time when this was written and illustrated.
Totally, man.
Yeah,
You have to
you're
like
kind of
haul your ass
having to make it up.
Exactly. I mean, you had to go and haul your ass off to like archives, or if you knew somebody that had like stock footage or whatever's, or you had to go to the library or a bookshop or something, or buy a model kit or something. It was not easy. And the irony here is that I'm sure it is easier to find F-14 than it was for the A-10 or for the Rattler, reference. To be fair, because the A-10, I don't know, I don't remember it being as well. Don't want to say as well publicized. Just remember as a kid, maybe it was just because we had kid goggles on, we just saw F-14s all the time.
The A10 was sexy enough to be out there. I had a lot
the
of posters
A10
of it
totally.
growing up.
Yeah, I mean, but I remember that like for me as a '90s thing. I remember that in like primary school, not preschool. With F-14, I saw pretty early on in my life, and I was like, "Wow!" But also Macross,
of course, yes. Well, yeah, that swing wing design was just iconic. A lot of pop culture trying to latch onto just that Tomcat cool.
Somebody put on the battle damage plates.
Amazing how much damage these aircraft can sustain. If we skip towards the end and they're going head to head, and both of them unloading with their guns, I mean, you catch like half a second burst in your aircraft and you're out of the fight. You're going down in flames. They seem to just drill away at each other's cockpits, and these planes both are able to still limp off. Incredible.
The redundancies are insane.
Well, it's creative
Allegedly.
license. Like with
Of
everything else in this book, it's taking it to the comic book extreme, just for
course.
drama, and because it is, as I said before, a funny book for kids. Don't get too hung up on the realism. Don't let it get in the way of an exciting, thrilling ride. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of digital combat simulation. You might have heard this before if you've been listening to G.I. Joeberg on the regular, or DCS is what they call it, a channel called Growling Sidewinder. And I feel like I've absorbed enough knowledge to know how gun kills work with jets. And it's
It's a difficult thing to do, hey?
it is absolutely very skillful, but as I say, it's so instant. Essentially you just sort of squeeze the trigger, and if the enemy plane happens to fly through your target reticle and catch a few of those massive rounds. I mean, we're talking 20 or 30 millimeter ammunition, which are Coke bottles, basically. If you catch a few of those, yeah, that's it. Your plane's toast. It's coming apart. So yeah, to Swiss cheese these two aircraft and basically create flying holes held together by a very thin airframe. It's amazing that they're able to still fly.
And with all of that, the thing that actually, saying it bugs me, it doesn't bug me. I just give it a chuckle. With everything that's so super unrealistic that goes on in this comic book, the amount of like holes that are in these planes, the fact that they probably wouldn't be able to get enough lift with the amount of damage that they've taken, all those kind of want to get super technical things are there. But the thing that irritates me the most, and it's on this page, thank you, Stephen. Ace is holding a coin in his hand, and he's gonna flip a coin. Please, like, anybody who knows this, who's like actually like a pilot, could you flip a coin in your cockpit?
With the canopy shot out, and you've probably got about, I don't know, maybe 200 knots of airflow in your face.
Yep. And I mean, never mind just G-forces and stuff. Because that to me seems like a really stupid thing to do.
Or a really studly thing to do. Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
come
it's
on.
a comic book. I mean, but that was the one thing that stood out to me as the most unrealistic for me.
It's amazing that in a book this jam-packed, they can still have a character moment like that. Because yes, Ace is a gambling man. This speaks to his file code. It's like Larry took the opportunity to illustrate that from time to time, Ace lets chance take precedence, take control of the decision making. But yeah, it does seem like a bit of a manufactured moment.
Maybe he flipped it out of the cockpit, and it fell several hundred feet and cut somebody in half, and they turned into a midget.
I do want to refer to
debunk that.
Let's hope not.
What was it? A coin. If you drop a coin off the Empire State Building, and it'll just go through someone's skull. Wasn't that the myth?
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up.
No, I heard that urban legend once upon a time.
I love this comment from the Berg Force here. A Moonlight 47. As someone coming late onto the comic, now I'm curious why this comic wasn't reprinted for the 25th Ace Wild Weasel pack in place of 115. That, my friend, is a very good question, and we also don't know why. Because that would have been
it at that time.
The best comic.
Well, Ace has a very small role in 115, and Wild Weasel, I mean, you see plenty of Rattlers. Maybe he's up there, but yeah, no, it's a mystery. It was a mystery when that pack came out, and it's a mystery today. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this is a special issue that they wanted to reserve for, I don't know, some kind of other reprint. Maybe they wanted to increase its exclusivity.
Yeah. Maybe
no one's really clamoring for 115.
Yeah, like shame. I mean, it's not like it's the worst issue or bad issue or anything. It's just it's not 34.
It's a highlight for the Phantom X19. Maybe they wanted to move some of those units, but mind you, wasn't written in like 1990. So yeah, the X19 was already off shelves by then. There's a colorist error here, boys.
Get them.
Get them.
So, we have dialogue saying the Sky Striker is maintaining his straight-on heading, but it's colored to look like Lady J. It's sort of over the shoulder, so we don't see the character's face, but we do see that it's a green flight suit. Why would Lady J be tracking a Sky Striker? She'd be tracking a Rattler. And it is definitely the Sky Striker on the screen because you could see the two tail
Wow.
fins, the one tail fin being cracked off. So who is actually saying this line, and what should the coloring be, gentlemen?
Also, the helmet design's different.
The helmet design is different, and it should. Cujo, do you want to take a stab at it, buddy?
Like who it should be?
Mm.
What's that one lady in the? Isn't there a Scarlet version with a blue jumpsuit on?
Of the characters that are in this comic book, come on,
Mm.
Cujo. Let me help you, buddy.
Yeah,
Narrow
please.
it down.
What's the question, Steven? Sorry.
Who should this be? On the screen now, we've got the back of the helmets, the shoulder, a little bit of lapel flapping in the breeze.
I don't know, brother. What do you got?
That would be none other than Wild Weasel.
I agree.
Oh,
And
you're right.
if
You're
you
right.
if you know the action figure, you know that his helmet has that kind of band around the back.
Oh, is that a Cobra emblem on the front of it too? I think you got him.
Well, maybe.
Oh shit,
maybe
it is
just
too.
a glint.
It could be.
Yeah, could
Damn.
be. Could be
Yeah,
a very
do the
stylized
picture
one.
here,
But
Steven.
either way, it's yeah, it's definitely not Lady J. So yeah, I'm gonna attribute that to just a colorist error. I mean,
Also,
the colorists have my sympathy.
and Lady J's riding Peter Pilot, so she wouldn't have that HUD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, and she wouldn't
No,
have exactly the glass in front, sort of starred glass. She'd have the back of Ace's head.
Yep.
In front of her. All right.
Also, how's it, Gary?
You guys are more savvy with the comics late in the run, but is this a reoccurring fight? Either with different planes, but these two characters, do Wild Weasel and the GI Joe pilot, do they face off again?
I wish I could say I knew definitively, but it's not something that happens on the regular. It's not like a Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow fight.
That would be interesting. I mean, it's still ongoing, but it'd be kind of interesting how like sometimes it's Wild Weasel and a fire bat, sometimes it's that'd be interesting.
Well, that's true. Ace did kind of switch up his aircraft. He's kind of the perennial pilot, whereas I think Wild Weasel's always been like
he got
just
that
the Rattler
POS late in the run.
Did he?
Don't remind me about that.
Oh wait, the Ghost Striker. I like the Ghost Striker.
that Wild Weasel figure, that's a hard head to deal with.
Yeah. I had this observation watching or reading this issue now, that Baroness scores a hit on the Sky Striker using her turret, which like always bugged me because modern jets don't have turret guns. It's kind of a World War II bomber anachronism. So yeah, that's a strange inclusion for the Rattler. But once again, watching as much DCS as I've currently been watching, if you're in a turning fight with another aircraft and you're close enough in, to have a gun turret in the amidships that can kind of shoot into the circle could actually score definitive hits. The problem,
kind of a bastard.
it's great. Like it's amazing. Like it could actually be useful. I'd say the problem with the Rattler's gun specifically is like it would just not have the power. I mean, those barrels don't look too big. It's not like the cannon that the A10 is basically built around. The was it the Avenger? In the Rattler, it's called the Jawbreaker 30mm, which is a cool appellation. But yeah, I mean, these piddly little gun turrets wouldn't have the speed or power or range to really
Let us
factor in.
not speak of the plastic saving measure of making those guns so small.
Pathetic. I know. I do like the fact that Rod Wiggum has illustrated them quite beefy. They look more imposing than the toy ever did. But still, yeah, you have to suspend your disbelief. But if you can, all of a sudden, yeah, as I say, it becomes far more useful to have that option. The person manning them won't be able to use them in most scenarios. But in this case, if you're that close, to be able to shoot someone who's on your 6, very, very attractive option.
Mm.
And it is a David and Goliath battle. We've got an air superiority fight, a dedicated one, versus an attack plane. So if there's any question as to who the more skillful pilot is, I think it's pretty clearly Wild Weasel in this case. To fight a Tomcat or Sky Striker to a standstill, he's the man.
Mm. It's also he's actually a heavier plane as well. His maneuverability shouldn't be as high as the F-14.
Yeah, I like the Studley way that he keeps all his missiles and bombs till the very end. Like, your bombs aren't going to do you any favors in a dogfight. Like, he should have jettisoned them ages ago just to increase his, I suppose, maneuverability.
But maybe he cares about collateral damage. That's...
Maybe. Yeah,
you kind of get the idea that... Yeah.
He only does so when he's over like a steel mill. No, over a scrapyard.
Which kind of shows that he's a bit of a gentleman in that respect. He's not like a... He's not a villain. He just
He not
blurring
only
the
has
lines
a
between
blue
good and
star,
evil.
but he feels for the blue collar. Come on, guys,
Or the
go.
red, white, and blue. Yeah.
Or that, yeah.
Maybe he
Just
only joined
interesting.
Cobra because he wanted to fly. Like, maybe he wasn't able to fly for any of the actual armed services of the world.
For the branches, yeah.
Mm.
Hey, when you're
Should we
in
talk a little bit about
astrology.
the end, guys?
Could just need to pick up something.
Paul, what's your take on sort of the finale? They go head to head, drilling away with their cannons, and do not down each other's planes. Both check their guns, empty. They've expended all their missiles. And
Yeah,
they
I
just
think...
fly past each other and salute. Amazing.
Yeah, I love that. What is my take on it? My take on it is that I think it's super cool. It's very samurai. Well, very movie samurai, let's say that. It's cool. It's also... it just shows you sometimes like it's not super necessary for... Yeah. What's that thing that kids like to say these days? Game
Red
recognizes
list.
game. Yeah. And I think like these two guys just did that. And I think there's also a little bit of a, if we weren't in different planes, we could be friends kind of feeling as well. Like a lot of your great driving rivalries and whatever's over time, some of those drivers have actually said, hey, if we didn't meet each other as opposites on the track, we may have actually been really great friends and have become great friends afterwards. And it's the same with certain movie stars. So I feel like it's that kind of situation. Like, they both recognize that each other are actually just too great to try and waste. And they also, it's not worth wasting their own lives on trying to kill each other. So they're just like, yeah, yeah, nicely done. Checkmate. Let's go. Let's go home. Yeah. It's a beautiful scene. It's a beautiful moment. The only thing that pisses me off on this, actually, and I know, like, I'm sorry that I'm looking for something that's negative here, but and it's also a sign of the times. But I hate that it's like both women are complaining. Like, the women don't understand. And I don't like that, because both of these women are actually like, specialized, members of an armed force themselves, and they understand this kind of thing too. So I feel like their behavior is just, like I said, it's a sign of the times. It's that kind of gag, but that's the only thing that annoys me a little bit about this,
There is some validity to their stances, because they're giving grief to the pilots for letting the other guy get away, essentially. Baroness is sitting with a loaded gun. She could still score some hits on the Sky Striker. And from Lady J's point of view, this is a Cobra aircraft flying with impunity over American airspace. Like, at the very least, they could radio in its position, or not. Well, I suppose the radio's taken up. They could try and track them, try and keep up with them as best they could. Ditch their plane a little bit closer to wherever this plane ditches, so they can acquire these Cobra operatives later. or find out where their base is. Like
Mm.
Springfield at this stage of G.I. Joe history is still a secret.
Mm.
So it would be useful for both combatants to prolong the fight. But yeah, you said a mouthful, Paul, and I would only add that these planes are so absolutely totaled that the fact that they're even able to maneuver at all and limp back to base is a miracle. So yeah, that kind of invalidates both of the women's stances, because like they should just be quiet and pray that they make it home.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I just feel like had it been like another character, if these were two male characters sitting in the Peter pilot seats, they would have said stuff like that. It would have been like, okay, cool, yeah, it's acceptable for somebody like, I don't know, Tripwire to say that, because he doesn't understand like the kind of nightness of the whole thing. But anyway, it's a thing.
Sign of the times. If it was written today, yeah, you absolutely wouldn't paint the women as these kind of nags. But if it was the 80s, and I mean, this was a boys' comic book. It had some female readership, but for the most part, I mean, there was a letter written in Postbox the Pit for issue 37, which I'll bring to your attention, and it wrote about this issue, a whole lot of sort of technical questions, and at the end, he said, and that ending, all I have to say about that is, women, right? This is probably written by a 10-year-old, but he's probably heard his dad say something like that, or he's heard it on TV. Women, right? So that was the perception, that women could be nags, and this book sadly played into that, but it was a simpler time, I guess. Shall we rate this issue, gents? I mean, I'm going to come in strong and say this is a perfect issue for me.
Yeah,
like, what little like criticisms I have are really just my adult brain having a go and trying to find talking points. It is a riveting read and beautifully illustrated.
Yeah, I got to agree with Steve on that one. It's like, how many times can you say this book deserves 5 out of 10?
5 out of 5.
You could say, 5 out of 10. 5 out of 5. Nicely done, Steve. Sorry, man. What I was trying to say is, how many times can you say this book deserves to get 5 out of 5 stars? You could say it 10 times, and you could still say it more after that. It's a great book. It's a classic. And even by modern comic sensibilities, the style, the composition, the style, the flow of the story is really, really good. In fact, it actually kicks a lot of modern comic books in the ass, dare I say. And I know that I don't want to sound like an old buddy, but yeah, I fully stand by that. And another thing, all the nitpicks that like Steve and myself are pulling out of this, I think is just so we can be a devil's advocate. So we can say, hey guys, we've really looked at this. We've really counted the rivets. But yeah, it still doesn't stop it from being a Mona Lisa, in my opinion. 34 is amazing. And it's actually
has
overlooked.
rivets?
Oh, you know what I mean.
Holding her together at this stage.
I can't give it 5 out of 5. I'll go 4.
Right.
I thought that the frames were kind of tight until we get late in the comic. Then he starts to let it breathe a little bit. I like those shots of the cockpit at the end. You guys have already read 301. I'm curious, like what kind of hits they're gonna play at Skybound. I would love to see, if this was a modern comic, they would have just pulled scans of the A-10 and it would have looked wooden and dead on the page. But no, I think they did a good job on the planes, and I do want to see more dogfighting in my comics. But this seems to be the only comic, and I'm thinking, you guys said the Ghost Striker had an issue in the hundreds. You don't see too many signature dogfights. I'd like to see Wild Weasel go at Airborne again. That's not his name. What's the name?
The Phantom X-19 was the featured issue of featured aircraft in 115. Sort of doing a snoop over.
You guys said you were going to
Emirate
cover
of Benzine.
You guys are going to cover Hama's revisit late in the run next episode.
Gosh, okay, so we did let me name drop it right here, and it should be in the description below, but we did a guest spot on Chaplin's Assistant's Motorpod, and Gary's in the chats, where we gave our opinions on 301. So if you're jonesing for some up to the minute comic book reviews, get our thoughts there.
And it's worth kind of dropping some trivia that this 301 has sold over 100,000 copies. So, hey, I don't know how many rappers Star Wars has. We have Word Burglar. We still have a thriving franchise. Apparently, people are still tuning in, or at least they're re-interested in the wake of a lot of other fandoms kind of losing their intrigue. I'm interested.
G.I. Joe's got something special, man.
Hmm.
So like, it's cool that you mentioned 301, because if we rewind to about what issue 280 of the comic book, as Steve mentioned earlier on, we get a continuation of this fight, and I think it's done purely to try and just immediately put us in the timeline of when this story plays out for 280. And I get it. Like, Larry's also trying to put a spotlight on, okay, you know what, the ride home was quite hectic and everything, but the whole and it's like it's quite dangerous and hectic, bad stuff happened, like, Rattler pretty much went up in flames. But just some things that I wanted to mention here, like, it's amazing how the Baroness goes from issue 34 of being very, like, not nervous, but very I'm trying to think of a word. She always tries to catch Wild Weasel out. That's her character, like she's always like, yeah, impress me, Hobra, all that good stuff. And he's all like, yeah, I'll blow you away, blah blah blah. And now she's like, I trust you implicitly, Wild Weasel. It's like, no. Like, I hated that shit. I'm sorry. Like,
she's
that drove me
softened in the intervening 35 years.
Yeah, like,
sitting in the back of that Rattler, she's suddenly like flashed forward through time and aged.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. I hated that bit of characterization. And then also, there's a scene in there where she's like talking to Wild Weasel, but she's like, yes, swimsuit, pose,
Oh yes, when they managed to put down the plane successfully. The landing gear doesn't work. The fuel tanks aren't filling up with inert gas, so they're essentially just like fuel vapor bombs. So the danger level is very high, in spite of this thing not having any ordnance still strapped to it. Wild Weasel puts the plane down. The crash crews are on standby, or they're on the scene very quickly. Techno Vipers are putting out the fire. Very cool. They've got breakout tools. They come through the smoke and manage to pull Baroness and Wild Weasel out just before the tanks blow up. And yes, absolutely, the sun is high in the sky and Baroness has a glint coming off her tit. Wild Weasel looks worse for wear. And is this, to my mind, the first time we see Wild Weasel's unmasked face? Quite possibly.
And yeah, like, I understand, like, from a narrative point of view why you'd want to do that, because you kind of want to give the character more personality, and you want to, like, also show that, like, he's taking off his helmet now, it's time for contemplation and blah blah blah. But, like, it totally kills the whole thing for me.
Gives me the vibe that maybe these two are intimately linked.
It gives that vibe, but
they survive an ordeal, but there's something quite sexy about this. Well, it's Baroness, okay?
But it's unintentionally done so. Yeah, it's like fat bait. I hate that shit. Like,
well,
for
this
me,
is I know enough about the industry now, thanks to all the excellent comic book podcasts that I listen to. But this is a one-page splash, and it would make for a more attractive page to sell. To have Baroness looking like she does, and an unmasked Wild Weasel. There's a lot of eye candy on this. It's a poster. It's a mini poster.
Yeah.
I always wonder, when people draw a page and nobody's eyes find you, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
Yeah.
True.
Listen, there's a reason to do that, like stylistic reasons. And I get you there.
Well, what's the center of the page? The mirror? All right.
Well, it's actually meant to be the sun. So it's from the sun, and then you got all the lines pushing you through the composition.
Mhm.
I mean, I know we're being super technical here, and I'm pretty sure that whoever had to draw this had 5 seconds to do each page, or whatever, because I've heard stuff about IDW, and then decided Destro really just needed a much bigger head in the preceding pages, or in the following pages.
Also,
But
chronologically, we have the first appearance of the Night Raven.
yes,
In issues following this, in chronological order, sort of issues in the late 30s, the early 40s of the run, Alpine and Flint and Quick Kick, someone else infiltrate Cobra Island, and they take pictures of something under a tarp that looks like a Night Raven to me. But that hint to the Night Raven is now preceded by this appearance of the Night Raven on the tarmac at the Springfield Municipal Air Force Municipal Field. Yeah, it's not an air base. It's undercover.
Whatever. And then we get to the whole. Okay, so now we actually get to the actual story. So that, I get where Humber's coming from. Like I said early on, he's trying to create a timeline. He's trying to put us in a place so we can jump on, so we know exactly when the story takes place in the whole thing. And it is a great opportunity to flex on the popularity of one of the greatest G.I. Joe issues ever written, which is issue 34, by the way, if anybody's wondering, Shakedown. And so I suppose that's a little bit of fan service in some respects. Sorry, I'm just looking through the issue. If you're wondering why my eyes are not looking at you, dear viewers.
Well,
and
give
then
us a
we
little
get to
rundown.
this.
What happens? What is this issue all about, pal?
Yeah, so we get down to this whole thing now. Okay, so Baroness has just had this incredibly traumatic event with Wild Weasel, and now she has to jet off to Paris to go and stop or go and convince a French senator, what's the word, head of state or whatever,
Diplomat or something.
to join Cobra, to basically be on Cobra's side.
It's the Barovian Prime Minister.
It's the Barovian Prime Minister. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, of Barovia. Sorry, man. Just all the Paris stuff. I just immediately thought he was. And then we are introduced to Major Blood, and he's just got a gang of shirtless vipers, which just is super fetish, by the way. And they are interrogating some dude, and then we got some beef between Baroness and Major Blood, and quite figuratively and literally, as there literally is a raw piece of meat hanging between them in the panel, which I think was actually some kind of tongue-in-cheek artistic choice there. And yeah, and then we got this whole
channeling
thing.
Rocky, like these guys between torture sessions, they're just bulking up.
They hit the meat. They beat the meat.
Hitting the meat.
And then we just get this highly elaborate kind of chase through Paris, which is very a la the Italian Job, the original, not the stupid remake. And it's replete with a scooter that is got a little grenade launcher. Anyway, hilarity ensues. There's
The
this
coilless
explosions
rifle, I think.
Technically it's like a howitzer or something. It's crazy.
It's a real thing. A 150 TAP is a World War II, I think, era Vespa.
Yes, it is
scooter that has a gigantic barrel pointing out of it.
And I'm totally down with that. I'm totally down with that. But it's just all of this happens, and then
it might be a little bit later than the Second World War. I think maybe this is a Cold War era weapon. Oh yeah, but no, Christopher's backing me up. They had them in World War II, right?
Yeah, it's a legit thing, which is super cool. And also kudos to the artists or to the creative team when they make the Baroness bail, and it kind of scratches the barrel of this gun a little bit. And then then we get this great little all of this stuff happens, and it's this moment in time, and then eventually the Baroness gets hold of the Barovian dude, and she's all well, this guy was going to do this and blame it on Cobra and blah blah blah, and then he's tell your boss to give me a call, and I'm oh my word. So basically the whole issue is how Baroness is the best PA in the world ever. That's the issue. I mean, that's what she is. She's a personal assistant. I mean, that's what she's been diminished
Dude,
to.
she's been a personal assistant since G.I. Joe issue #1.
Yeah, but like in the very personal assistant way, not like as in the right arm, or left arm of Cobra kind of way.
Look, she fulfills both duties. She's either
this could have been an email.
on on one hand, she's leading the mission to capture Adele Burkhart. On the other hand, she's holding an eyepiece and correcting Cobra Commander's aim. Like, I bet she makes a mean cup of coffee as well.
Yeah,
she does whatever's required.
It's crazy. Like, and I ask you, dear listeners, like, there are some fun moments in this comic book, but had this never existed, do you think your life would have been complete? Do you think that this somehow fills in a gap in your life?
Well, we never would have known if the Rattler made it back to the base or not. Like, yeah.
What? Of course we would have known. There's a shit ton of issues later with the Baroness and the Wild Weasel. They're still intact.
I tease. Look, I will credit this for kind of acknowledging the elephant in the room. That after all this bad blood, pun intended, between Baroness and Major Blood in this issue, they still begrudgingly part ways and say, I'll see you at the Springfield rally. Because guess what? These two are actually colluding at this very same moment to kill Cobra Commander. To have Billy pull out a 375 Magnum. Was it 357? 357 Magnum and blow old Chrome Dome's face away.
Which I think Larry Hama actually forgot about when he wrote this.
Incorrect.
Really? So is
Blood's
it done with intention?
Blood's parting shot is until we meet again at the rally in Springfield then.
He does have a little clever eye there.
His eyes do find you that time, do they, Cujo? So yeah, this is just a little bit of a skirmish between Cobra. It seems like something that happens on the regular. Look, Major Blood is... his loyalties are very fickle, and this is just another example of that. So, I mean, to kind of just get into the nuts and bolts of it, Blood was sent to Paris to kidnap this Barovian prime minister for Cobra's purposes. However, he was being paid more to eliminate the prime minister. He had a sort of a side deal with someone else. So he got rid of all the Vipers that he was sent there with and replaced them with French Foreign Legion troops or legionnaires who were loyal to Blood. Those were those beefy, rocky dudes in the abattoir, in the meat locker. And so he was going to actually off this prime minister. Baroness intervenes, but things work out pretty well for Cobra because that then pushes this prime minister into Cobra's influence. It's like, well, the other guys would have killed you. We would have just kidnapped you and had a little talk. So he's like, tell your boss to call me, Baroness. We can work something out. Look, it's cute, and I suppose Barovia became allied to Cobra in later issues. Certainly in the arms trade, they have links to Cobra.
Have we ever gotten a proper... Sorry, brother. Finish that thought.
It just pays respects to the continuity that it forms a part of. But to answer your question, Paul, is it necessary? No. It's a fun issue, though. It's pretty harmless. It's a 3 out of 5 for me.
Have we ever gotten a proper origin story for Christ on a bicycle? I'm forgetting everybody's names. Wild Weasel.
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
I'm going to do a quick and dirty rewrite on that comic. They dumped the plane in a field. The whole issue, Baroness and Wild Weasel are fighting. They finally get back and salute each other. She finally understands what it is to not like somebody, but have to live with them. So she learns the same lesson as the other guys. But honestly, the comic book covers should have been Shakedown, the aftermath, with a bunch of, come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah, they could have sold it harder. Like, a big criticism I have for this issue, again, content-wise, I don't think it's bad. I'm not, like, I'm not like, oh my god, it's the worst thing ever written. I just feel like it's unnecessary. But like, okay, fine, we got it. So cool. You know,
That art
it's
was
like
a
when
little
somebody,
gummy. It was a little gummy, but hey,
it's like, you know,
bygones.
it's like that chocolate, like that. You know, there's a chocolate or candy bar, or whatever, out there that not your favorite, but you know, if somebody gave it to you and you were really craving a candy bar, you'd be like, yeah, cool, this does it for me.
Yeah, somebody says,
You
remember
know,
that candy bar that flew around real awesomely? Well, here's the follow up to it. And then it
yeah,
comes
like
out
here's
to
the
not a
super
candy bar.
party size. Yeah, so here's it's not a Snickers, it's a Slickers, and
Nice,
it's like,
nice. Snickers.
but I think that, oh god, and like, I'm gonna be super dickhead here, and like, I don't even know if I have like the box to stand on for this, to be fair. But the covers for this book are crap. I'm gonna put that right out there.
Ooh,
Okay, the two
shots
best
fired.
covers for this, the best covers for this were actually done by John Royal, and the Snake Eyes versions. The John Royal looks like a chase here. It's like the B cover. That should have been the main cover for this book from the get go. If they really wanted to like show off the Baroness for this book, but I think some kind of strong sort of storytelling would have been fun. You know, like having the Baroness on the scooter or something cool like that for the shot would have been way more interesting. Because I'm sorry, but this is like, and again, like maybe the artist had like 5 seconds to draw this, or just was really struggling that day. So I'm like, not trying to insult the artist here, whatever. You know, sometimes getting a good read on a character can be quite difficult. But this is a terribly shit cover of the Baroness. And I'm gonna say it, I'm not even being nice about them. Both of them, like they're shit. They're like they're ugly. They put me off this comic book. Like, and I feel like for the content that's inside the book, those covers let it down. And you know, you can't win them all. I've also got a lot of shit art out there. So whatever, it happens. But I
boy, you
just,
make me laugh.
sorry, bro. It's just like, I hate these covers. They like really hurt my eyes, and I think they really hurt the book.
Cover
I think,
A is by Ron Joseph. If you want
sorry, Ron.
an object for your hate, cover
No,
B
I don't hate Ron Joseph. It's just shit happens.
is Kieran
you know?
McCowan. No? Yeah, Kieran
Yeah.
McCowan.
Well, hey, I mean, there's a reason why IDW G.I. Joe did not hit the way it should have. And a lot of it was they industrialized storytelling. I'm sure the people that drew this had no idea what was going on in the comic. Probably not. So,
Probably not.
no hard
But it
feelings.
does give them an opportunity to draw Baroness, which I believe sells more covers than the rest. It was
Yes.
rather shameless leaning into Baroness's cover popularity. Like
Mhm.
comic books as an object to be bought and sold because it looks pretty, as opposed to a meaningful story that adds something. I mean,
Well,
this doesn't really, and it's a throwaway kind of plot line that trades heavily on it being a continuation to 34, except not.
Yeah.
So it's a thinly veiled attempt at getting sales, driving up sales. To be
I just also
perfectly cynical.
I also love this East Side Comics variation, which has got Snake Eyes on it. It's like, oh,
In a
God.
Spider-Man pose.
It's like this is what was wrong with the book. I mean, they were trying to throw everything they could at the wall to try and make this book sell. So they're like, well, what sells? The Baroness and Snake Eyes. So if the Baroness covers don't sell, the Snake Eyes sure as shit will.
Well, can you blame them? I mean, in
can't
hindsight, we
blame
know
them.
that
They're cheap
IDW had their
shots.
back against the wall. Either they
Yeah.
knew they were losing the license and they decided to milk it for all it's worth at this stage, or they were making moves to try and up the sales to impress, I don't know, probably Hasbro, the rights holders. Like, leave the license with us. We can move units. And Hasbro were like, nah, you tried. You tried, Baroness, looking sexy in the sunlight. It's not working.
I'm not going to go down this full-on cherry road, but I think that that's one thing that all of us should be kind of eyes open to is how people create stories, whether they're comics or. By the way, guys, podcasting has led me to mainstream. You know, I'm working 4 platforms now, so don't think you're just doing this and talking to nobody. This is exactly the skill set people are looking for. How do you tell a story? How do you get it to reach people? They definitely missed the mark on that issue. I mean, you didn't even mention Shakedown, you know, no aftermath. You got to have Wild Weasel on that cover. But again,
That's what I'm getting at. Like, allude to that. A friend of mine did a Baroness cover. I'm trying to think of the issue number now. But he did the cover. He did a cover, and it was a bit of like behind the scenes knowledge. Hasbro, I think, gave him 3 or 4 changes for it because there was Hasbro are very, very careful with Baroness in making her look too quote unquote sexy. And it's just they seem to be listen, this is not a fact, this is like what I have taken from the feedback and from what my friend has told me. The more realistic your artwork looks, the more like, you know, quote unquote, just a realism your style has. So if you're going for like a photorealistic look or a painted look or whatever, the more hardcore they get on you. And the more comic it looks, the less they kind of bug you about it. And I think that's why like John Royal's comic cover here, and by the way, John Royal's amazing. His work is so great. He really is like an amazing comic book artist, or amazing artist, amazing illustrator. He's great. But that issue, that comic cover is very sexy in a lot of ways, you know.
Very what's the guy who currently runs Marvel Comics?
Oh jeez, that guy.
That guy.
Sexy,
Gen 13 artist.
Oh, well,
Sexy
the
but
Gen
dangerous.
13 artists were Jim Lee and J. Scott
Jim
Campbell.
Lee. Jim Lee.
Yeah, he runs DC.
That sounds
Jim Lee
right.
runs DC.
Oh, it's DC.
That's why. Yeah, that's why
what I know about comic books.
But
sadly, we've only got the thumbnail for John Royal's cover on screen now, and it's blurry.
Like, the thing, and it's unfortunately blurry on the screen. But the thing is, like that if my buddy had done the same kind of pose in a more realistic style, they would have given him a bit more pushback. I'm not saying John Royal didn't get pushback from Hasbro, you know, but yeah, it is a thing. So like Hasbro can be very careful. So it's also possible that these 2 covers, which I've mentioned my dislike for, and apologies to Ron Joseph and stuff, like I'm sure you do amazing other work. I just haven't seen it, but I'm sure that these were very much them playing safe, or maybe they just got feedback and the artists were just like, well, instead of like trying to correct in increments, they just completely course corrected and they were like, nope, just gonna do this and not like go too hard on it and not push it too hard. But yeah, I don't know. These are terrible covers.
Did you give us also, a score, Paul, for the issue?
Yeah, 2.5 out of 5. It's
2.5. Okay.
If you get it, if you get the book, like if you've got it in your collection, cool, you got it. If it's in a trade paperback, fun, cool. Do I accept it as the actual continuation of the events after Shakedown? No, I don't. I don't at all.
Bit gratuitous.
Yeah.
I don't think it ties itself enough into the G.I. Joe history at this point. I don't think. Maybe I'm missing some details, but like I wish that there was some follow-on from the events that happened in this book, because I don't know, we learned that Barovia, it's a kind of an analog to Poland, really, sort of in favor with the Soviet Union, but kind of its own independent nation. Yeah, I don't know. Barovia's main claim to fame is that mission that Stalker and Quick Kick, Snowjob, Outback go on. Outback then has to do escape and evade after the other guys get captured. Yeah, one hell of a mission. But like, this doesn't feel like it correlates in any meaningful way.
Yeah.
Cujo, do you have a score you want to give this book?
It didn't leave me with anything real positive. It starts with the covers, of course. I mean, if the covers aren't about the story, you're not really telling it. Yeah, it's not enough of a tie-in. It's, I guess Shakedown would be the quote-unquote member berry. Remember when this happened? But yeah, it doesn't really extend that, and the people are out of character. So it's a shame that that's maybe the only time we've seen Wild Weasel. We'll have to see that red hair, that ginger once again. What's up, my man?
I think it's time for a little commercial break. Or
Reese's.
Reese's? Some people say Reese's.
I say Reese's, but I was corrected in America when we were in the States.
Oh, very
Apparently it's
good.
Reese's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not so much a commercial break as it is a question for the panel. So
Dun, dun,
I
dun,
have,
dun.
and the person who sent this my way is in the chats. So thank you. You know who you are. I have a Rattler, Cobra Rattler aircraft. So yeah, it is very, very timeless to be talking about the Rattler with this issue in mind. That Rattler has obviously many, many years of good play behind it, but it is in fine enough structural shape. Could do with some new stickers. The stickers are a little bit off. A little bit of adhesive,
Nice.
kind of the gummy edges around where the stickers are. And I mean, Rattler stickers have very specific areas to place them in order to make them look symmetrical, look good. Some of the stickers have bubbling underneath them. Anyway, basically they are a little bit knackered. The structure of the plane itself could also do perhaps with a little bit of a polish, just to really bring out the beauty of this plane, because the planes, as we know, are gorgeous, particularly if you get them nice and squeaky, which is achievable. You know, anyone who builds model kits knows ways and means to bring out that plastic luster, get it back to being, you know, almost factory fresh. I learned, however, after I actually purchased reproduction stickers online, that this Rattler is the first version sticker sheet. So every bit of white lettering that you would normally find, the Z06, I think, is the Z06 and the number 41, all the times where you see like white lettering on most Rattlers, this is actually done in black, which I think it was a running change basically made because the black wasn't showing up against the dark blue Rattler color. Now that I have these sort of first edition stickers and I'm aware of them, do I still peel them off and throw them in the trash in favor of new reproduction stickers? What
Your
say you,
answers,
Cooch?
please.
Well, this is a question for the chats as well. But Cooch, do you have an opinion, buddy?
You said the new stickers are in black, huh?
The new stickers are in white, which is how, like, if you look on 3D Joe's, both the Chad Hukal pictures and the spin pictures, so there's two different Rattlers that they've got. They both have the white stickering. So obviously the white is a preferable look. It's a more popular look, and it's the only look that Toy Hacks put out. But that just, to my mind, increases the rarity of Rattlers out there that have their original, like first edition black stickers.
Meanwhile, on eBay, Rattler prices are going up now with black stickers.
Christoph asks, how far gone are they? Well, that will factor into the deliberation. The stickers, I think, can be salvaged. I peeled off one and was able to then remove the residue and reapply it with some Elmer's washable clear glue.
To answer that, I think white. I think you go white just because it'll photograph better, probably.
Paul, your knee jerk? Also, peel off the stickers and use the reproductions?
Yeah, listen, if I could choose, I would go with the white stickers personally.
Right.
I like the contrast. I also like. Okay, so two schools of thinking here. The one school of thinking is you're playing with the vehicle, and you're shooting play motions or whatever's with it. Often got a camera on the side of the fuselage or whatever's, and it's kind of interesting and it's cool. So people will actually see the sticker if it's black when we do stuff like that. But when it's on your shelf, or in my case, hanging on the wall, having that contrast is really nice at a glance, being 3 meters away. By the way, I envy you. I envy your Rattler. Just saying. I prefer the white. Like, I get why the black, why they would have black stickers, because it's zero vis, and you don't really want the plane to be recognized, I suppose, by civil aviation authorities. But the white just looks cooler for me. Personally, I like it.
The stickers don't look bad.
But the stickers are in good condition, so don't take them off.
Some of them are like the sort of the low vis black sticker that goes on the bonnet of the plane, the nose. That's got some bubbling. Look, this, as I say, it's a well loved Rattler. So maybe
cool.
trying to make it into a museum piece is the wrong impulse.
It's folly. Play with it.
Yeah.
Did you get all the missiles?
Yeah. I just don't display it with the missiles because I like a clean config. Just
that's
swoosh
amazing.
around my room a little bit.
I'm super envious. That is a great toy to have.
You're not the only one. Ben Martin's in the chats. Oh my days, showing off. Black Fiction popped up in his place. Yeah, look, if I replace them, I would feel guilty, and I think that's the bigger crime. I'm reticent to actually peel and reapply the old ones because if I screw that up, I'll be sad. But I have proven to myself that I can do it. Like I peeled off one of the Rattler Air Wing, or the Cobra Air Force symbols, which was really wonky. That offended me. So I got that one off. Used lighter fluid to clear away any remaining adhesive, and then, as I say, this Elmer's washable clear glue applied, and it worked. It dried clear. It looks good. I don't know if I have the patience or skill to attempt the rest. It doesn't bug me enough to do that. It is like my play Rattler. So for that, once again, I thank you, Gary V. I'll name drop you, brother. Thank you so much. He sent me the most awesome care package, like back when the pandemic started and toys were scant in my lockdown position. But yeah, this Rattler, its fate, I think, is probably going to be with another member of G.I. Joeberg. Pistols at dawn, Paul, between you and Rob.
Fuck yeah, dude, let's do it.
Who wants this piece badly enough? Because yes, I do have.
Make it more fun for me. Rob can get a head start. I can hunt him down.
Nice. But yeah, Mark says, I mean, just to bring a dissenting opinion, perhaps, Mark says, I would replace them. In fact, I did. Mark has very squeaky clean collection. But then balanced with that, Gary says they're only original once, which is
Ben
what
Martin
goes through
says,
my mind.
Do you think the Rattler could have been a tad bigger? And to that I say, that's what she said.
It
Always
could have.
a shotgun in hand.
It could have.
What she said.
But jokes aside, Rattler could have been in closer parity size-wise with the Sky Striker, but then it costs you playability. Like the Sky Striker, for a child or even an adult, can be a cumbersome thing to sort of one hand swoosh around. The Rattler is
perfection.
Perfection in terms of just a nice, cool plane that is not too heavy, not too cumbersome. You've got a good place to grip it, the sort of the empennage, the back end of the tail. It's just good. It's good. Loaded with bombs. And once again, watching a lot of digital combat simulation on YouTube, seeing this thing in action, it's a beast. And you also get an appreciation watching a DCS simulation of aircraft, like how these things stack up. Like a fighter will always have dominance over an attack plane. An attack plane will always have dominance over a helicopter. A helicopter will always have dominance over a tank. But every once in every while, one of the sort of the underdogs beat the odds. Like an A-10 has a couple of heat seekers. It could score a kill on a fighter. Or if it gets close enough to use the nose gun, that's it, man. Game over. A helicopter could score a kill on an A-10 or a similar ground attack aircraft. So, like, these David and Goliath matches, it's fascinating to watch.
All about that turning radius. Before we move off of...
lining up that probability and taking that lucky shot.
I don't know if you guys recall, I did when Cobra Convergence came around, I flashed to this guy, I did a little review.
That guy is...
if I was hello,
A viper
gentlemen.
colored to look like Boba Fett action figure.
Viper Fett.
Speaking of
original
Wild
color.
Weasel, I think Wild Weasel's
Or
legs
Viper.
are the perfect match for a Fett figure. Between the maps, the dagger, and the gun, I think you have the same level of intrigue on the legs. I just thought
Because
I'd
the
bring
maps
that
kind of
out.
look like those pockets. So
True, and you could do some kind of accents on the maps or whatever. But I was going to ask you, gentlemen, what in the GI Joe toy line resembles the E11? Like, what would you give Fat Viper as far as a gun? This one looks all right, but it's not signature, you know.
The E11
E11?
being
Oh.
Boba
Fett's-
Fett's
Yeah,
Boba
yeah.
Fett's gun.
What would
laser
be the
carbine.
translation for Joe's?
Flint's shotgun.
Could
Oh,
be.
What about the Night Force? Night Force. The Night Viper's got that weird little gun
That's a good
that
call.
you can't
Good
use.
call.
I kind of feel like that's kind of close to Boba Fett's gun. Oh, he just broke it. It's
Damn.
dead. Dead. Broken.
I kind of.
No, actually, I really hope
He lives.
Gun, yeah,
He
Quite
lives.
attacked.
of course, Firefly's gun could play. Dark Lawns would be an interesting one to add.
Darklon's gun. Gary V literally said it as you said it.
Nice.
How cool is that? Yeah,
I like
nice
the way
one,
you
Gary.
think, brother. That was my quick fire right there. What gun?
Scale wise, I'm still gonna say like, okay, in action figure terms, Flint's shotgun might look piddly, but scale wise to the movie replica, it's got the same proportions as the E11, and it
Could
looks
play,
like a
yeah.
bounty
It's not
hunter weapon.
as exotic as you'd like it to be, but it does.
Nah.
It works.
I think
Gents,
that's such
should
an
we talk
amazing
about a
colorway, though.
cartoon?
Yes.
Hello.
Steve, are you going to pull us in on Hold Down the Heavens?
Cobra is manipulating Aurora Borealis with a ion correlator? No, something else. Ionic adjuster. Something to do with ions. And it's causing global warming, essentially, melting of the polar ice caps. G.I. Joe is dispatched along with a scientific team to investigate this phenomenon, not knowing that Cobra is involved, but of course Cobra's involved. However, they have an infiltrator in their ranks. Dr. Impwhistle is
Dun, dun, dun.
has been tied to a chair in a hotel room and has been replaced by the Baroness. She seems to be a recurring theme in these books and comics. And they have a bunch of sabotage attempts happen on this expedition. Firstly, a crane knocks over some boxes, some crates while they're loading up the transport plane. A C-5A Galaxy, by the way, not the usual C-130s. So they're using a bigger, heavier lift aircraft now. Second attempt was a runaway snowcat. And those snowcats in this cartoon look massive. They're these mongrel things. And eventually, she reveals herself to Flint and Snowjob as the Baroness. Flint and Lady J get captured by Cobra and pitted against a polar bear that Cobra also captured mistakenly. Snowjob winds up with some indigenous tribes people, local people. He's recovering from getting trank darted, and he's trying to get a message out to G.I. Joe that Cobra is there in the north. Meanwhile, back at G.I. Joe headquarters, Firefly pumps acid into G.I. Joe's fuel supply, rendering their air force completely destroyed. Sky Strikers are crashing out of the sky, transport planes blowing up on the ground. It's chaos. Like the whole G.I. Joe base is basically on fire by the time Firefly is done. Could you get a more effective agent of Cobra Command? I doubt it. But G.I. Joe managed to close in on Cobra anyway. Snowjob gets his message out. Ripcord picks him up in Lady J's Sky Striker, which somehow avoided the flames. And G.I. Joe mysteriously arrive on the scene in a bunch of whale hovercrafts. Did they sail them all the way from Joe Base? to the Arctic. Maybe. I thought they had a fuel shortage. Anyway, Joe saves the day by turning the ionic whatever it is to full blast and melting the Cobra base beneath the polar ice caps, which, to my mind, achieves Cobra's goal, which was to basically create chaos by flooding the world and then, I don't know, taking over the aftermath. Destro laughably calls it giving the world a bath. Lol. Such a dick. Yeah. Basically creating water world.
Destro.
Yeah. You wanna basically become Lord High and Mighty over the remaining land masses once the world has been flooded. Great. Very Cobra. And that's it, man. There's some zingers. Some great scripting. I particularly like Lady J calling out Dr. Impwhistle, who's kind of chewing out the Joes at that point and saying, I bet you want to draft us next. And Lady J was like, I'd like to put you through boot camp. Oh, sorry, the episode, if we missed it, Ben's got our back. Haul down the heavens. Absolutely. That's the name of this cartoon ep. Yeah, gents, any reflections on this you'd like to share? I do have some pictures. I didn't bring them up, but yeah.
Again, it's always cool, like when you get a Sunboy episode that kind of highlights the specialty of the characters. So the Baroness is never really quoted as a master of disguise, but it's cool to see her being a spy, I suppose. But actually, I'm more referring to like Firefly and the way he wreaks havoc. Like, I know I'm going very far forward now into the episode, but this is a great moment for Firefly. If you're one of those kids that grew up loving Firefly and you're like, oh my word, Firefly is the best G.I. Joe ever. Like, screw ninjas, Firefly is the best, even though he's a ninja. But anyway, he's the best. Like, if you like Cujo and you like Firefly, this is probably your episode. You're probably like, yeah, it's my boy. He's shining. He's burning bright. So it's a great episode for Firefly fans. And it's got a bit of a Thing vibe to it. I mean, it's set in, but is it the Antarctic or is it the Arctic? It's the Antarctic.
The Arctic.
Yeah, the Arctic.
The Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis.
The Northern Lights, yes. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, you got that whole vibe going. And I know that that's like an obvious sell for like, oh, it's like the Thing because it's, it's cold. But it does have that whole who can you trust kind of vibe, and weird stuff happening and stuff being sabotaged. So I do enjoy that to this. It's like the kiddie cartoon version of the Thing to a degree. And it doesn't have ghosts.
At one point, they depict Firefly in a kind of monstrous fashion. Like, it's bad enough that he's using this acid to kind of burn his way through the 10,000 volt electric fence and various G.I. Joe sort of security barriers. But at one point, he appears in a vent that he's just melted as just these glowing blue eyes. Interesting.
I am the Rat King.
Yeah. Anyway, definitely MVP of this issue, as Firefly basically grinds G.I. Joe to a standstill.
Yeah.
Like, through his actions. I mean, it took a whole, satellite to do it in the Pyramid of Darkness miniseries. They should have just sent one man.
Yeah, one man. One man. There's a great shot of Snowjob on the floor earlier on.
Oh, yes.
He's been taken out. And it really does remind... It just reminds me of the Thing. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I mean, look at he looks like McCready, bro.
McCready, totally. And there's a parallel also to Mass Device, where Snake Eyes is similarly incapacitated or irradiated and taken in by local people.
I agree with you about Firefly probably getting a lot of love after this, the figure. Honestly, like Chuck Dixon, right? He knows his history. These are lofty concepts to be floating around. Once again, G.I. Joe handles it easily. Gotta love it. And hey, end of the year, there's a lot of loud skies out there. So this is a topical episode. Good stuff.
little Easter egg that I'm flashing on screen now. We've got Snow Serpent
gear. Yeah.
gear on a blue shirt, essentially. Or this can be explained, I suppose, as Snow Serpents in base who take off their like ski mask and hoods, and then decide for some reason to put blue shirt helmets on and balaclavas over their mouths. But it's an interesting look to have the kind of the smash up of a blue shirt head with a Snow Serpent body. Unfortunately, it's something you can't achieve with the action figures because, of course, the blue shirt head is a swivel and the Snow Serpent is a ball joint.
Maybe we'll get a reaction version. Oh, that's a nice variation for Destro. I'd like
the
that
classic Destro winterized uniform, the black trench coat with the red lapels, the turtleneck, the cool Mars logo belt. Yep, these design sheets had style. I really like the fact that the blue shirts in this iteration have these kind of grayed out snow gear, but it's essentially the same top as their blue shirt, but just knocked out in gray. Because it's got a cobra symbol kind of ghosted on the chest, not picked out in red. Big black kind of chemical handling gloves. Yeah, it's a
Cobra
good look.
being subtle. How dare they?
I really feel like this. I really hope that Super 7 do a reaction version of that Destro, just to put it out there into the like, ether, so to speak.
Paul, do you have the? Did they do a similar
Resolute version?
Resolute version, yeah, with the rubber
with the
arm.
removable arm. It's a cool look for him. It's also got a little bit of a Action Force kind of vibe to it as well.
How so?
It just reminds me of not the one bad guy. There's a look. It's not like a
Black Major.
Yeah, it's kind of got the Black Major look. It's not like, oh my god, it's like one of their costumes or something. It's just, it looks like it fits in that universe. So I wonder if like had Hasbro ever done this variation, that would have made. I wonder if it would have changed this Destro and turned him into a leader or something in Action Force comics, because he just looks like the boss here. He's not like showing his chest. He's like, I don't know. It's just something about it. It just seems very. He's the boss. Very CEO. I like it.
Oh, he is the boss. I mean, Cobra Commander runs around like basically policing up prisoners in this episode. Destro is the one who came up with the Ionic. Blanking on the name again. It's not Correlator. It's something else. I should have written it down. But
the Ionicinator.
No. Kickbox Productions set the record straight. Absolutely, you can do the head swap with the 25th anniversary style.
You sure can.
So you could put a blue shirt head and helmet on a Snow Serpent body. It'd be an interesting look. I've never seen that online, so cool.
I wonder if I can do that with the classified figures.
Hey, those new classified Snow Serpents? Did that wolf head change the personality of the Snow Viper to you, or the Snow Serpent to you? It kind of gives it a different
Turn them into
vibe.
Vikings.
Yeah. I don't know about that one.
Guys, I had fun with this episode. It's mostly harmless. Yeah, it's got some zingers. Chuck Dixon has a great balance between like action and pace and characterization. So it's in that sort of perfect Venn diagram of like what you want from your 23-minute cartoon adventure.
It also has that gem kicker in the afterburner. That ain't bad.
It just occurred to me, like I've taken this screen grab rather randomly, but Flint and Lady J burst into the arena. Well, it's a god. The Snow Serpent is actually a god. It's not. Yeah, he must have backed out really quick because they've got a polar bear charging down on them,
like the Rancor fight.
Yeah. I actually got vibes of the episode 2, Heaven Help Me, Star Wars fight, because Lady J and Flint break their chains by basically running it through the mouth of the bear. Doesn't one of the Jedi, or maybe it's Padme, do a similar thing to break their chains?
Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, with the I can't even remember the names of those things. It's like a slaz. Anyway, Ben has come to our rescue, Steve. It's the Ion Attractor.
Thank you.
Now available from L'Oreal. The Ion
Oh.
Attractor. The new fragrance by L'Oreal.
Because you're worth it.
Uh,
Very good. Thank you very much, Ben.
Very cool.
Well,
did
hey,
you
they
guys
did.
also get
They had people fighting a bear on Game of Thrones. Don't forget. That's pretty intense.
Oh my word.
I can't
forgot
remember
about
because
that.
I never watched that show. Except I did watch the final season because I wanted to see everything come down,
That's where you done went
burn
wrong.
down.
That's when you went wrong. Yeah, you watched like the worst one.
Well, I wanted to see the internet explode and see the reason for it. I did get some vibe that the writing pool responsible for Rise of Cobra, the live action film from 2009, I'm going to say, I did feel like they watched this episode. Like this is one of the episodes they honed in on. Because, I mean, the whole thing ends with the Cobra base sinking.
Yeah.
They use the ionic attractor to full power, and then the whole thing disappears under the ice flows. Because that film, Rise of Cobra, also ends with Cobra base descending through the ice. Also somehow massive ice pieces also sinking, which people didn't have their
That
science
piece
hat on
was
that
not
day.
bad. That's all I'm going to say about that. But
still, it's very cool visuals though, and like it looks good. It's not really real. I would love to get some of the background plates for this episode. And just for Sunbow in general, I'd love to own some. But this version of the Cobra base is really cool as well.
That evil donut.
Yeah, just feels so alien. Again, a bit of a Thing reference, even though we never see a spaceship in the Thing. Well, we wouldn't say never. Anyway, let's just not go there. That's a whole.
I'll go there. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, I'm flashing up an image of the gigantic snowcats, man. They look beefy, very mongrel.
That's how they should be.
It's an ageless
I
vehicle.
feel they should feel like biggish.
Great.
Yeah, I suppose.
So, then there's the So there's Doctor. I can't even remember her name now, but she's just realized that she should never ever use that escort agent again, ever. Because look how she's been tied up. That's quite professional. Like, before I
found from my lap dancers.
Yeah, but guys, they like look at this frame, okay? And I don't know if you get taught how to tie people up, okay, in the military or whatever it is. I'm sure you do. Okay? I wouldn't know, but this doesn't seem like the way you would do it. This seems a little more kinky than that. I don't know why I'm going there, and I'm sorry, because I know there's a whole thing with people like to tie each other up and all that. That kind of reminds me of that more than a practical military way of doing it, or militaristic way of doing it. If it is, cool. Please correct me. I want to learn. I want to know. But this looks naughty. Maybe I'm naughty. I don't know. So
it's good to see Matt Noon and Hans Chow in the chats. Thanks for joining us.
Yay, it's Hans.
And Matt.
Hey,
excellent.
And Matt,
got a lively chat happening at the moment. Anything else you guys want to add about this episode?
I thought it was a goodie. Nothing too goofy.
Hans, we use zip ties and handcuffs in the army. I mean, anyway, it's great. Sorry, carry on, Cujo.
More references to gambling. Snowjob talks about gambling, so that may be the reoccurring theme here over the holidays is to get in a lot of gambling.
Well, it is, I suppose, as good a reference as you're likely to get to his file card information.
Oh no, I thought it was a nice bit of dialogue. Yeah.
Was that where Flint says, sort of dispatches him to do a bit of reconnaissance, and he says, "And don't let me catch you selling any refrigerators to Eskimos," or something like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Racist.
Yeah, that was one of the things. No, but that was one of the things I mentioned earlier. Like they kind of lean into some of the, characters a little bit more. Like that joke is made possible because you've read the file card. So I dig that.
Word.
Cool shot of the really cool still of the Baroness there, actually. Whoa,
And
that's a hiss
great
tank and a
still,
half.
a
Yeah.
mega hiss. So when
Yeah.
Baroness blows the whistle on the Joe's position using a flare that sounds a lot more like a laser when she fires it. But getting past that, the whole base erupts with hiss tanks and Fang helicopters. And Cobra Commander rides inside a hiss that has a side door. And effectively, I'd say this is bigger than if you were to use the classified series HasLab Hiss for your 3 3/4 inch figures. This is a lot closer to if you were using
This is
mask
obviously
figures.
the Cybertruck hiss.
It does have some of those angles, actually, now that you mention it. But yeah, this is a sort of command hiss, a toy that we wished existed, I guess. Just to have all that cool sort of interior space.
Are
Nice.
you guys
Anyway.
excited about the new classified hiss reveal? Did you guys buy into that?
No.
I'm not a classified series collector, Cooge, so that's
Good
my
man,
easy
good man.
answer.
I like the classified. I just don't feel the need to own the hiss tank. I'm more excited. There's something to me that's more important than the hiss tank.
Yeah, like paying off your house. That.
Yeah.
Gary's asking Super 7 if you can hear us. Make that hiss.
Make that hiss.
It might get off the ground better than the Cobra mothership. Should we talk a little bit about that,
minivan.
boys?
Oh,
Sag.
did that crash and burn just like the episode?
It's funding up until the 11th of December by my
Hey, maybe guys get their Christmas bonuses soon, and then they're all like,
It is crunch time. It's do or die time. So we're into our final 2 weeks, and
Well,
it's
I can
sitting
only
at like
hope,
1,400 of a 4,000 minimum order goal. Yeah, 1,443. 1,443 backers locked in at this point.
crazy
They need
loyalty, guys.
Need another 2.5, basically. And some
just before we go off on too much of a tangent, let's just give this episode a review.
Oh, yes.
What do you give it out of 5, Steve?
I liked it. It's another look. I'm gonna have to downgrade my comic book score in order to give this one place of pride above it. So if this is a 3 out of 5 episode, the comic book has to be 2.5. So I'm in line with you on that, Paul. Mm-hmm.
For
I'm not gonna
me,
mention the comic. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
I just thought it was so cool seeing what you call it? What are the whales? So shortly after our episode with Gary and issue 301, like lots of whale action and wild bulls too. So that was fun. Anyway, I give it like for me, it's a solid it's a 4 for me. From the cartoon side of things, because it's a good episode. It's a fun episode. That polar bear is just, pitch perfect. Love the polar bear. Parks on the top of the whale at the end, laughing. He can, polar bear can sit wherever he wants. Those kind of lines. I love it. It was good. It made me feel wholesome. I was like, yay, I'm 10 again. It's a great show.
Do you realize though, Paul, that the Joes are massive dicks?
They are massive dicks, dude.
This polar bear can, since we have destroyed this polar bear's natural habitat,
He can
sit wherever he wants on our boat.
Yeah.
The Joes have achieved what Cobra's end game was in this episode by pushing the ionic adjuster to
attractor.
Attractor. God, the hour is early. The ionic attractor to the maximum. Like they've melted the polar caps.
Guys,
that's it.
I've said this before. Cobra is just another branch. They're a bunch of actors. They're just doing a whole bunch of silly stuff. They just gives G.I. Joe a license to ruin the world. Just to further enforce capitalism. I mean, anyway, well, let's get rid of that cynicism and move right along. The GI Joes are dicks, but we love them. Not always. They're not always dicks. Sometimes they're really great. Cujo's like, he's just, I want to say something.
No. Cynicism or realism? I go, I'll 5 out of 5 it. I mean, everybody did their job well. It opens up a huge
Especially
play pattern
Firefly.
for Firefly for sure.
Mhm.
And yeah, I like it. I mean, one thing that you're always reminded of in GI Joe is they introduced you to the world. I mean, it was funny when we were watching the episode. My lady's like, I don't think that's an African American voice actor. Of course, it was Baron in disguise, but they show you all sorts, the whole world. They show you different kinds of people working together. So 5 out of 5 for me.
Oh,
Cool.
well, okay. Well, that does raise the average a little bit. I know
That's
Ben's laying into me for my rather moderate score. I guess it's because there are episodes that hit harder for me than this. However, it does have the most delightful bit of art that, I mean, I laughed out loud when I saw it. Oh gosh, I can't share all of a sudden. Oh, there we go. All right, let me find it quickly. See if this guy catches your funny bones like it did for me. Lady J, in the derpiest rendering I've ever seen her. Someone has got to meme this. Like, it's the eyes. Her eyes are spaced way too far apart. She's got a bit of
They're
a
just
drift.
looking in two different directions, that's all. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so
she's
easy
got
for that to happen. Yeah.
the expression of like, I'm having way too
And
much
like the
fun.
longest neck, dude.
Yeah. There is
Like-
some flagrant
Yeah.
like women bashing. Like Flint and Duke are mouthing off the top of the episode about Lady J's flying ability. And they don't use very flattering language. And it's like, Chuck, my boy, that would probably get you cancelled these days, pal. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that. What it would also possibly get him cancelled is Morgan Lofting in blackface or portraying a black character. But here on G.I. Joe Berg, we're going to steer clear of politics. Thank you very much.
And move right on to our Death Adder conversation, the Cobra Saucer, the Cobra UFO. Yes, I'm still trying to fly that Death Adder name. Terrible. Never mind the fact that it's like the villain from Golden Axe, but who cares? Yeah, you guys were just saying, like, it's got until what, the 10th or the 11th of December to fund. I'm hoping everybody got their full on Black Friday, bought all the nice things they wanted, and now they've got money for something like the Cobra Mothership. I hope they do. I really want to see this succeed. Yeah.
I can only hope that gentleman's here, but somebody in your group on one pod mentioned it. It probably sits on top of a Roomba. Why didn't they do that? That is such a... I mean, can you imagine them showing that? It's such an inspiring thing. You could have people hanging off the side. You could have cats pawing at people. Dude.
Yeah, your cat's like...
It's too good. It's too good. Whoever said that, if you're here, next round's on me.
For my part, I am as locked in as I need to be at this stage. I have paid my deposit to Aussie-based pop culture, and that's all you need to front up. You can pay the rest as and when this thing ships, which puts me in a very fortunate category of people who don't have to pony up like 600 US upfront or 800 euro. Mark gave us that localized cost. So it's a big ask for people who have to pay upfront at this time of year. And the negativity now of not seeing the needle move might make people who were interested in saving up the scratch and dumping it right at the end of the process, they might be gun shy now. Like that's a mental game that a lot of people are playing. Like if you were keen at the outset of this campaign, to see that it's not doing well might make you write it off already prematurely. Like it's not going to fund, so let me not even bother to, throw my dollars where my mouth is. However, if it does start to climb, the FOMO then flips the other way. And you're like, okay, so it is going to happen? Then if this is going to exist, it needs to exist on my shelf. Assuming you have a shelf that deep. Where does this go? Where does this go? On top of your bed?
I'd go on your wall, bro. If I got one. I mean, when I say if I got one, if I magically had the bank to get one, it would go on the wall. I'd hang it on the wall. I'd make a, just blunk. I'm gonna take it down when I want to play with it. Blunk. That would be great. There's nowhere else
Some
I
people
could put
say
it.
you should be able to park it on top of a Terradrome. I mean, if you manufacture some supports, maybe. I don't know if
Yeah,
I'd
I mean, I'm sure you
feel
could 3D print
comfortable,
something.
but something of that weight sitting on top of like 40-year-old plastic.
Honestly, that's the biggest, how different is it as a playset from the Terradrome? Not much. Not much.
To be
It
fair, it's not a
flies.
parking, and it's not a
Yeah.
parking lot.
However,
I love the
we'll name,
Terradrome.
just to counter my own point, our most recent contribution from Cobra Lang in our Special Forces Play Motion playlist, if you would call it that, was this awesome film that he shot with a friend of his called Ryan. Also Play Motion, nice, laid back, cool visuals, lots of toys in play. And the crowning moment is a Terradrome basically flying. He sort of the plot.
Wow.
It's called Operation Liftoff for a reason, because it involves Destro's cockamamie idea to fly the Terradrome.
He must have
Which
watched
is too
Shield.
cool,
He's been
man.
hanging out with Shield too much.
Dude, I'm all for it. When I got a flag, I was also big time into the Marvel Universe action figures. And so that was a helicarrier. I would sometimes, once my flag was set up, I would pretend that it's not riding on the waves, that it's in fact at 15,000 feet, 20,000 feet.
I don't know. I'd be interested to see. I mean, I don't know if we're closing down or whatever, but be interested to
are.
see if 301 and going forward, if they start to introduce new vehicles. Like, what's Skybound's mission? With GI Joe. Has the Void Rivals, has that captivated you guys?
I'm an A-Rod diehard. I don't think I want to split my focus. I don't know. I haven't been intrigued enough. It seems like the focus of that book is more heavily on Transformers. There will be some G.I. Joe content, we're assured. But I think I'm more interested in seeing Duke and Cobra Commander. Like, those are the focuses of the new continuity that I'm curious about. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Cobra Commander takes a guy out into a parking lot in the preview and just straight up murders him to get his transport. And I theorized that he did it with the Venom Blaster because it kind of the blood makes a cobra symbol in the snow. And wouldn't it be cutesy if that's what the Venom Blaster's kind of signature is? That you blast a guy and
That'd be
it
wild.
blows out his back in the shape of a cobra symbol.
That would be a detective thing. They're like, where's the scorching?
Well, the Venom Blaster has those kind of fins in the front, which, I don't know. It's like a kitty's stamp,
No, I'm.
symbols.
I'll immerse myself once again in the GI Joe brand to see what happens. I'm interested in new looks, so hopefully that would be interesting. Bring us some new vehicles. They're introducing some new characters. I mean, Mole Rat. I don't know how pervasive he's going to be, but it should be interesting.
We now have zombies in G.I. Joe, a real American hero. They're leaning into that, so maybe Mole Rat will find its way in there. But yeah, I think Mole Rat will more specifically be a comfortable fit for the Energon universe because of the. I mean, we're told that there's not too much collusion between the action figure teams and the comic book creative talent, but it's definitely in the waters that this Dark Energon idea from the toys is being picked up by the Energon universe of the comic books. So the
Well,
one
it didn't
hand
work the
washes the
first
other.
time. They may as well try it again.
But I think it's time we start pointing our toes out the door, unless anyone has anything they'd like to mention. Yeah.
I'll just say this: it's once again at the end of the year, and, hey guys, not a pleasure, but an honor as well, chatting with you gentlemen every year, or whenever we do. But GI Joe community, don't forget yourself. You guys are the best of the best. We prove it all the time. Here we are. So I salute you guys. So just like Wild Weasel, I got another one for you.
Nice. And I'd like to salute the guys in the chats. Thanks very much for joining us live.
Yeah.
Always appreciate the banter.
Massive ledges. No, you guys are awesome. Just quickly on the way out, Steve, anything new in your life, toys-wise?
No, I think I'll leave it. In the last 2 weeks, I celebrated a birthday, and I don't feel I'm at peace. I have so many cool toys that, I mean, I keep saying this, but I don't really need any fresh plastic. I like the thrill of the chase. I certainly like picking up stuff in the flesh. But yeah, birthday came and went. Black Friday came and went. I didn't pick up anything. I have had my eye on the All Striker Bumblebee Transformers X G.I. Joe smash up. I feel like the price could be clearanced down a little bit harder though. I'm that kind of discount king now. I'm like, I'll pick up the last scraps if there are last scraps, if it's meant to be.
Yeah, dude.
And Roger Martinez, you might have just jumped into the chats, but absolutely, I am on board with the Cobra Mothership, doing my bit, I guess, to try and get it over the line. I'm curious to see. I mean, it will be the biggest Hail Mary of any crowdfund of this nature, I'd say, if it makes it. So I hope it's close. I hope it's a nail bite. I hope it is down to the wire. I hope it doesn't just stall under 2,000 and be, because it's an amazing piece. The amount of love and engineering that's gone into just the mock-ups and the physical model that they debuted, like, it would be a real shame if it doesn't make it. But I can see that this is.
I gotta dangle those O-rings though. Release the O-ring.
If they release the O-rings, people would jump ship literally. No one would want the mothership. They just want the new Viper. What's it called? A Viper Gunner?
We can't just release the O-rings, dude. There's a reason they tied.
I know.
Anyway,
Christoph says that the All Strikers are cheap on Amazon. I'm gonna say not cheap enough for this thrifty guy. I want him at least 50% off.
Have you met my friend Steve?
I'm not spending more than $40.
Well, dude, at least you got like a baseline for yourself, right? So, so two things. Did the Giant Man get funded or not? I can't remember. It did. Hey,
Giant Man, yeah, made it.
Okay. See, I don't want to live in a world where Giant Man gets funded.
2 hours, I think.
Yeah, I see. That's the thing. Let's hold out hope for the mothership, but I don't want to live in a world where the mothership doesn't get funded, but Giant Man does. That's a dark place for society, for civilization to live in. Anyway,
there's about a $350 difference between the asking prices.
Yeah, I know, but one of them is definitely Giant Man.
And
anyway,
Giant Man is an essential component. I'm gonna just fight you on this quickly, Paul. Giant Man is an essential component of that classic 1960s Marvel Age Avengers lineup. If this was the only way you're going to get him, there's pull.
No, I get that. No, I get that. I mean,
enough people were asking for this mothership, and I'm going to pick up on something that was mentioned by Dave from Audible, the Audible Interlude podcast, and he said that like this argument of, well, who asked for this, is a bullshit argument because we don't know a thing until it's out there. We didn't know that Empire Strikes Back was what we wanted in a Star Wars film until George and Irvin Kershner made Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, No, that's true. Like, you don't know what you don't know, and
I
also
didn't
people don't
know
know.
that I wanted a Cobra
Thank you.
flying base until
Until you saw it.
someone put it in front of my eyes and said, "This is what you want," and I'm like, "Damn straight, I want that."
Yeah,
This
You
is
people
did
how
know
you
you
one up
wanted an an asp? What are they called?
An aspid.
Aspid. Ugh, the Cobra transport helicopter, please, on this
Oh,
podcast.
we did know that. We did know that.
Hmm.
But yeah, Steve, no, I feel you. Like, I agree with that as well, because like people don't know what they want. They just don't. If you work with clients, you learn that. Unfortunately.
But show
And
us
then also
something
just
that's fully realized as this amazing mothership, and we're like, you know what? That's it. That's what I need. That's what Cobra needs.
the earworm to get into every listener's head is Shakedown from Beverly Hills Cop. Shakedown, Shakedown. It's a good tune. Just to go with today's episode. And this is the only cool new toy purchase I got recently.
What is it, Paul?
It's a premium Hot Wheels Ninja Turtles party wagon. It has got rubber wheels. It has the little door pops open, and the guns are adjustable. I want to liberate it from its package, but I also kind of don't. I'm in a weird place with it. But yeah, I got it. It's like super cheap. I won it on a local toy auction for like, well, less than I would have bought it in the shops for. So that was cool. So yeah, that was just a fun little like add to my collection, to my Turtles side of things. Because you don't see, like, for me this is a rare thing. I don't see like Ninja Turtle stuff ever for like Hot Wheels. So it was a nice little score. Yeah, it was a fun little score. Yeah, I'm kind of still secretly hoping that we get a bunch of backstock of the nano vehicles, of the G.I. Joe nano stuff, because I see we got the Transformer stuff here. So we got like Optimus and Starscream and Bumblebee, those little nanos. And I keep thinking like I should get them just because of the scale fun. Like, but anyway, I'm waiting for them to drop down in price. Although I suppose I should have gone to the shop on Black Friday, because I absolutely avoided and detest the concept of Black Friday. But should have gone and check it out. It's not the crowds. I just find it bodacious. But anyway, I don't want to go into that whole thing now. We watched an awesome episode of the cartoon. We read an awesome issue of the book, and we endured a not so great issue of the comic book. So I'd say this was a great episode.
And we checked out some amazing art. Thanks, Cujo, for bringing that Joevember goodness to our attention. Anyone listening to this, watching this on the replay, check out Twitter. Check out those various artists that we featured, and more. There's a lot of amazing original G.I. Joe art. You just have to know where to look.
Mm-hmm. This episode, a 3 out of 4, because no Rob.
Oh.
And brought to you by Reese's or Reese's.
And
no, brought to you by our
over at Patreon.
That's a list of winners right there.
Big boss.
Yojo. And with that, we're out.
Berg. Cheers, guys.
Berg.